I'm Kanisha Parker, and this is my major presentation. I will be discussing the legal rights of students and the limitation on student behavior. Students' rights and responsibilities. During the 1960s, students increasingly began to challenge the authority of school officials to control student behavior. Students' rights were considered limited by their status as minors and by the concept of in loco parentis. In loco parentis is the idea that schools should act in place of the student's parents. Students' responsibility have been increasingly recognized as well. Understanding the students' educational rights are tied in with the responsibilities on the part of both students and educators to ensure effective operations of the school. Students' rights. Every student has the right to be considered as unique and not part of a group. Every student has the right to learn as much as they possibly can based only on their individual abilities and without hindrance or harassment. Students are responsible for recognizing and respecting this right in their peers. Every student has the right to use a learning approach that is reasonably compatible with their own learning style, meaning they are responsible for ensuring that they do not monopolize too much of the instructor's time or influence the pedagogy of the class in a way which is incompatible with the learning of others. Students' responsibility. A student has the responsibility to respect the rights and property of others, including other students, the faculty, and school officials. A student has the responsibility to maintain a level of behavior which is consistent in supporting the learning environment of the institution. Students make choices and take actions which lead them toward their educational goals. Dress code and regulations. Many courts have had to determine whether dress code and regulations constitute an unconstitutional restriction on students' right to free expression. Controversies over dress code also have erupted over perceptions that they unfairly lead to punishment of girls for infractions not applicable to boys. Some girls perceive these codes to be sexist restrictions that attempt to use so-called slut shaming to embarrass and punish them. Here's a video of students in Nashville, and their topic of the video is Student Bill of Rights and Responsibilities. I tried to play the video, but the sound would not work, and I couldn't figure out how to get it to work. But if you would just take the time and watch the video, I'm pretty sure you will find it very interesting because I did. Protection from violence. Educators have a duty to protect students against violent actions that occur at school or at school-sponsored events such as graduation, proms, parties, etc. Depending on the situation, the courts or other government agencies may find school districts or their employees legally liable for failing in this duty. A Louisiana court held a school district partly responsible for the gunshot wound suffered by a student after a school security guard warned the student of trouble but refused to escort him to his car. If the chance of harm to students is highly foreseeable, the educator's duty to care becomes a duty to protect. Protection from violence continues. To improve school climate through actions involving safety in schools, analysts urge educators to do the following. Make sure students have opportunities to talk with and connect with caring adults. Provide flexibility and consider alternatives to expulsion. Clearly define what constitutes a weapon, a misbehavior, or a drug. Comply with due process laws. Tailor policies to local needs and review them annually. And also implement a positive discipline policy. Search and seizure. A legal search usually requires a lawfully issued search warrant. Rising drug use in schools and accompanying acts of violence have led some of school officials to install metal detectors or X-ray machines to search for weapons. Some schools ban cell phones, which are sometimes used in drug sales. Court challenges of such practices have usually centered on the Fourth Amendment, which states, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. Search and seizure continue. Video surveillance and search. Videos can help with searches to identify those who have threatened or might threaten the safety of students and staff. School officials increasingly have been installing cameras and other means of surveillance. Drug testing as a form of search. Some school board members and other policymakers have urged administrators to introduce random testing of student athletes' urine to detect marijuana, steroids, and other illegal substances. A majority of the justices concluded that school officials have reasonable grounds to be especially concerned with drug use among athletes, who presumably set an example for other students. The Supreme Court has also permitted drug testing of students engaged in other activities. Classroom discipline or corporal punishment. A controversial method of classroom discipline is corporal punishment, which has a long history in American education, dating back to the colonial period. Corporal punishment remains legal in 19 states. It is unacceptable to many educators, although it enjoys considerable support within some segments of the community, and is administered more frequently than educators like to admit. If punishment results in even a small bruise, the punisher may be investigated or charged with child abuse. Certain states' legislators have prohibited all corporal punishment in public schools. Student records and privacy rights. Until 1974, students or their parents could not view most student records kept by schools. Prospective employers, government agencies, and credit bureaus could do so. In 1974, Congress passed the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, also known as the Buckley Amendment, which would curb possible abuse in institutions receiving federal funds. The Buckley Amendment requires public school districts to develop policies allowing parents to access their children's official school records. The Act prohibits disclosure of these records to most third parties without prior parental consent. Student records and privacy rights continue. Parents retain rights of access to their child's school records until the child reaches age 18 or is enrolled in a post-secondary institution. Student privacy policy also are affected by the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment to the Federal General Education Provisions Act of 1978. This amendment specified that instructional materials used in connection with any search or experimentation program or project must be available for inspection by participating students, parents, and guardians. Need for balance between rights and responsibilities. Many educators and parents believe the courts place too much emphasis on student rights and too little on the need for school discipline. Some scholars believe that since the mid-1980s, the Supreme Court has moved to redress the balance. Rather than demonstrating that certain rules are necessary, school officials now need to show only that the rules are reasonable. This emphasis on reasonableness indicates that the court is placing considerable confidence in school officials, trusting those officials to maintain a proper balance between student rights and the school's needs. And that's it.